Benjamin Netanyahu, neged.
Benjamin Netanyahu has spent 2.5 years and 4 elections fighting for his political life, desperate to stay on as Israel's prime minister. When the end came, it was quick and by the slimmest of margins, an abstention leaving the votes tallied at 60 to 59 against him. Israel's longest-serving prime minister, whose carefully curated image as its indispensable leader, had to be told to give up his seat, swapping it instead for that of the leader of the opposition, the outgoing incumbent Yair Lapid, only too happy to make way. But it was Lapid's partner in coalition, Naftali Bennett, who took the oath first to replace Netanyahu. It was the second time he'd been at the podium. Earlier he began the day's proceedings, or tried to, as Prime Minister designate. Even by the standards of the often rowdy Knesset, this was a concerted campaign to prevent him from speaking. In between, he thanked Netanyahu, promised to work for all Israelis, and sought to defend his right-wing credentials against the attackers.
Renewing the nuclear deal with Iran is a mistake that will once again lend legitimacy to one of the most discriminatory and violent regimes in the world. Israel will not allow Iran to be equipped with nuclear weapons.
From Netanyahu, an early taste of what to expect of him as opposition leader. Fake right, he called him. He said Bennett couldn't be trusted to stand up not just to Iran, but to a US administration that wanted to return to the nuclear deal.
So I have a message. I have a message to those who are joyful in Tehran and to those who do as they say in Hezbollah and Hamas. The opposition in Israel will have a loud and clear voice. And I have another message for them, just as important.
We'll be back soon. If there's one thing that's characterized recent Israeli politics, it's division, bitter and intractable, plunging this country into a political crisis that's lasted for more than 2 years. For all the talk of that changing with this change government, Netanyahu, in the manner of his going, demonstrated just what a powerful force that division remains. In the Knesset, there was the briefest of handshakes. On Monday, Netanyahu is refusing to hold the traditional public ceremony to accompany the handover of power. The other big break with convention is the place in this coalition for a Palestinian-Israeli party, the United Arab List of Mansour Abbas, who's demanding tangible benefits for his voters.
What we are doing is a big sacrifice for our people, our present and future. We know that this move entails lots of dangers and difficulties that we can't deny, but the opportunity is big for changing the balance of power at the Knesset and the upcoming government.
But for many Israelis, the biggest adjustment, even for the narrow majority who voted 4 times to move on from him, will be in getting used to an Israel not led by Benjamin Netanyahu, who has so dominated not just politics, but life here. Netanyahu is making it clear he's not ready to move on. He will fight to splinter this new government and return. Bennett, Lapid and the rest will have to hold their divergent ideologies at bay, their coalition together, and demonstrate that they can govern and Israel can do without its now former Prime Minister. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.